evening. Welcome to the Greenway Advisory Committee meeting for June 17th, 2019. We do have a quorum. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Motion to approve?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, first item on the agenda, we'll talk about old business, the meeting frequency. We are meeting today. We're going to kind of do this on an as-needed basis because month to month, there's not a whole lot of progress being made. There's not a remaining budget for the Greenway, so we're kind of in maintenance mode for right now. But there is one thing that we definitely wanted to talk about, and that was the possibility of having a one-year anniversary celebration for the opening of the Greenway. So, David, do you want to talk about a little bit about what your thoughts were on that?
I think the date we have got picked out right now is Saturday, August the 24th at 9 a.m. What we did last year when we opened it up was we congregated back here at the pavilion and started from there. I think we may try to do something similar to that. We may have some vendors, some speakers. We'll market it as a 5K, but I don't think it's going to be a timed event, so it'll pretty much be open to anyone that's interested in coming. So it's just kind of just kind of marks the one-year anniversary of us opening it up. So if you guys have any input, any direction you'd like to see it go, please let us know. We're excited about it. We were excited when it opened last year. It gets used quite a bit. And if you travel that road daily, several times a day, and you actually see how much it does get used. So if there's something you guys want to propose that we're overlooking, please let us know.
It looks like you're planning to have a little ceremony, a 5K walk, invite the YMCA youth camps and summer programs, and have a community guest speaker. That sounds like a pretty good little event. I mean,
well, we'd like to reach out to everybody that's interested in coming because we want to highlight the positives here in Laverne, and this is one of our positives that we've implemented here over the last year. So we'd like to take that and build on it.
Fantastic. Also, I want to just give you a chance to talk about the Greenway cleanup that was on May 4th.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if any of you came by or participated, but it was started out not being a very good day. Rained all night. Actually, it rained pretty much off and on through that whole thing, but we had, I would say Comcast Cares came out, Stormwater set that up, and there was probably 150 people or not there. Yeah, so we had a good turnout, more than we anticipated. Stormwater provided lunch for everybody, so the weather was so terrible that morning, they backed off half their order and then had to go out and buy more once they saw how many people showed up. So it was a good turnout. They were pulling stuff out of there that we never imagined, wheelbarrows, tires, old pieces of iron, so there was everything that came out of that creekside.
Right. I'd like to just throw out here an idea. The Greenway cleanup has historically always been the first weekend of May, which puts us right at MTSU's graduation and Motlow's graduation also. So I know the week after that is typically Mother's Day, so I don't know if we want to move it up 1 week, move it back 2 weeks, but you might just want to take a look at that just because that I think you'll have even more participation if there's not so many competing community involvement ideas.
And we can do with that. We can get with Stormwater also. In the past, since the Greenway just opened, we incorporated that as a Greenway cleanup. In the past, it was always a stream cleanup, and it started just about from the roundabout down that old roadbed to the boat dock. So this year, since we had our own piece of property, we decided to move that up. So we can definitely get with Stormwater because I know they're still interested in participating with us, and they also do a lot of maintenance on the Greenway with us. So we'll definitely get with Catherine and Adam and try to move that date up if you guys like.
And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I mean, I just thought that, it's something that's always hit me whenever it was before it was the Greenway, when it was the Hurricane Creek cleanup. Mm-hmm. It's always been the first weekend of May, so It's always.
If I could add one
graduation.
more to that, when you're checking dates, can you check with Sergeant Davis? I don't get to come help because it always falls with the 5K at Laverne Lake. So that's where I and a lot of the box people were.
Yep.
So we didn't get to come and help. And so it's typically been falling on that the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, now that you said that, we had a hard time getting there ourselves because every road would go
Yeah.
down, we got rerouted.
Yeah.
So that's just a really busy, tough weekend for everyone. So, next item under new business is the stormwater drainage that you have worked on, and it turned out so beautiful. So you want to talk about that a little bit, David?
Yeah, the retaining wall.
Yes.
Yeah, and you guys should have some pictures of the retaining wall. That was one of the areas we were definitely having issues with as you exited the underpass there. If you started from behind the multipurpose and were going towards the roundabout, every time it would rain, we get a substantial amount of rain. We would always have issues with that. So we put this retaining wall in there. It's helped some. We haven't had quite that big rain event as we had in the past, but with that there, I don't see how it's not gonna help holding some of that sediment back.
Fantastic. It looks.
And also stormwater, I'm not 100% sure they are finished. They were putting the finishing touches on it today, where that drain always washes out about halfway down the trail from the going towards the roundabout. Every time we have a major rainstorm, that would always wash out. So they've been in there repairing that. I think they've added another drain and a couple of head walls, and they're rerouting, bringing some rock in and trying to cover that up. So hopefully that'll take care of any of that washout we've had too.
Fantastic.
Because I don't think it hasn't been that long ago. I think I actually tagged you in something on Facebook where people were talking about the mud and things of that nature. So hopefully this helps. I mean, I know it's built in a floodplain for that reason. You can't seem to get people to understand, but hopefully this helps some of that, because it would get pretty thick under there.
Yeah, it would get definitely thick under there, and there's no way that you're still gonna get some, but I don't think you'll get as major event as you've had in the past, because we were catching it from both sides.
Right.
We're catching from the entry side and the exit side, and then when the creek would overflow, even though they've got those baskets there with those stones in them, you were still catching that water from that side. But this is gonna hold back a lot of that mud. We're still gonna get that water because there's 3 or 4 drainage pipes inside the tunnel. So we're always gonna have water there, but I think if that doesn't hold it back, then we'll look at some other avenues of how to address that.
I don't know that it was so much the water. I think it was the mud. So if this helps with any of that, then we've done.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about, in one of these pictures, you can kind of see where that concrete is scored. They did that to try to get the water to filter back towards the creek, kind of running that.
Right.
We've even thought about coming in and cutting some of that out and putting a grate over the top of it so the mud will filter to that grate. And then we just pull the grate off, scoop the mud out, and replace the grate.
Well, it looks amazing.
Yeah, that turned out pretty well. Believe me, when we got down there that morning, our intention that day was not to build that wall. We've got a pretty good crew, and they jumped right on it and had it done probably by 1 o'clock that afternoon. And yeah, we were pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. So the next item, I know that we've been talking about putting something to block the vehicles going down to that old road bed. So David, you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, I spoke with Laura probably a month or so ago, and we've got a couple ideas. At the roundabout, if you look, we put a fence on either side of that, kind of like a farm fence, 2-rail farm fence. So if we have to move it, we can go in there and move it. We may try to do something like that where it's not so obtrusive, where if we have to get back there, we can remove it. I think it'll be visually appealing also.
Right.
And it'll serve its purpose of keeping people from driving over that. Because if we don't put something there,
They're going to continue.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see where they are doing it. Now, it's a greenway. It's not going to get you around traffic, but apparently they're trying. And we want you to be able to walk your dogs and have your kids ride their bikes without, here comes a big truck down the greenway. It's not for that. And And I think I've heard in the past there may have been like some ATVs and stuff down through there. And I just feel like they're going to damage the Greenway, and they're going to damage the bridge and all of the trees and the shrubs along the side. And there's a place for that, but it isn't the Greenway.
Right, right, right. Do you know what the fence will look like, David?
It will actually, what we put over there was a couple of 4x4 posts, and they were probably 6-8 foot apart, and then it was just those like picket farm fences, 2 rails, and we can adjust that if we get in there. It's such a bigger, that down there was a whole lot smaller space, and we just put those there to basically, because like Laura was saying, we were getting people jumping the curve, driving back to the lake. So, and we can adjust that if we want to go 3 panels or 4 panels. We may want to do that since it's going to be a little more visibility there, a higher visibility area. May want to try to dress that up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe even paint it kind of green so it kind of blends in with the trees. The ones right there at the roundabout is where they were driving their vehicle. They were used to driving their vehicles down there to go fish.
Right.
And then as you go through the roundabout and back down near Shreveman, it's, I want to say, probably that first row of seats. It's about that wide, maybe a little bit wider, and you can see where they're cutting through there. So it is a substantially larger area. And I think from looking at what they've done up at the roundabout, I think that'll work. And it won't take away from the beauty of it, if you will. You didn't want like the concrete barrier. You didn't want anything like that. But you want them to not be able to drive through there. But in the event there is an emergency and we need somebody down there, those can be moved. So that's kind of what I was getting at when we were talking about it, is make sure it enhances it, but then it's mobile.
Right. One other thing I'd like to just mention is as far as the old business, I'm sorry to go back all the way up to there, meeting on an as-needed basis, we've been observing that there's a little bit of a longer agenda on the Parks and Rec Committee meeting, and they're struggling to finish up before our meeting is supposed to start. So one thing that we could consider doing is swapping times with them, letting them have our 7 p.m. slot and switching to 6:30. But I wanted to check with the board members and see if that's okay with everyone, or if that will work with your schedule.
That should be fine.
And is that okay with you guys too?
It'd be fine with us because we're going to be here either way, so it doesn't matter. I know Park and Rec, they like to discuss things in depth.
Right, right. So, David, if you don't mind, you or anyone in the department can coordinate. If that works for Alderman No and it works for Bruce, then we can just make that change. You can just let us know if you don't mind.
Just take the Greenway to 6 p.m. instead of 7, or do you guys want to go to 6:30? Because we meet at 6. Friday.
At 6. Oh, okay. Yeah, 6 will work. Just to make it easier for scheduling, just to swap completely. And then we're normally done. We would normally be done within that hour, so that they'd be able to start on time. It might just help with scheduling a little bit if it suits everyone. So, the next, do we need to have a meeting next month in July?
I think the only reason we would need to have one is if we wanted to make sure we were on track for the 1-year anniversary celebration. And I don't see a reason why we would not be on track with that, so we won't let that fall through. If we went to August, that would be putting it pretty close. I don't even know when the Park and
I
Rec.
believe August would be the Monday before the 5K.
Like 1 week.
Yeah.
So,
Then that would be totally up to you guys if you wanted more input. Of course, you can always reach out to us with any questions or suggestions you have. But if you felt like you needed a meeting next month just to make sure things are going in that direction, we can do that also.
I think that would be a good idea, so we're not cutting it so close, in case in between now and then any of us come up with a community guest speaker that we want to come.
okay, so we can meet again on July 15th. Just keep in mind to be flexible about the time, and somebody from Parks and Rec will let us know, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. If there is nothing else, we'll take final comments. So, Laura?
I think I'm good. I'm really excited to see that all of the things that we had talked about are done. Except for the one, and we just gotta get there.
We're working on the other ones. We just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, like, gosh, David, I want to buy you a cake.
I never turned down no cake.
Me neither. That's why we're friends. So I'm really, I love the way this is all coming together, and that we had the idea for the anniversary. You know, sometimes you just have so many things going on in your head, you don't realize that it's already been a year. It's already been a year, and so I look forward to seeing the community come out and celebrate that with us. And you've done a fabulous job on the things that you have provided us this evening, so thank you. Thank you all for your hard work.
Melissa?
Yeah, I echo exactly what Laura said. I'm happy to see all these things, and you guys have done a great job, so I appreciate that.
Would you like to tell everyone about your...
It's been great working with you guys, and this will be my last meeting.
No!
I've moved off, and still have a house here, but I'll be living in a foreign country called Smyrna. And but I've had plenty of time to think about, you know, this board and things, especially in the last week, and it's kind of interesting to see how much progress has been made, and I'm very comfortable in the fact that this board is definitely committed to keeping things going forward. You know, it's kind of like I've grown up with it, literally, because I think I started this on this board when I was in maybe 32 or 33, somewhere in that area.
Wow.
Somewhere in that area, and I'm considerably older now. But I've seen a lot change, and I've seen a lot happen just recently too. And you know, even the past administrations, their commitment and their understanding, it's grown since, you know, we started. And this whole concept of Greenways literally started on a napkin at a National League of Cities convention. So if anybody ever wants to disparage the elected officials going to those conventions, they bring you ideas. And now that I'm ex officio, I can say that, and nobody ever says thank you, but I see it. I see the work that's being done, and I've seen the work that's been done by past council members and past mayors and things, and there's no doubt that everybody loves the city.
Absolutely.
They might have differing opinions about things, but there's positive commitment there, and you're on a board that has the potential and does affect every member of this community, whether they're young, old, or in between, or they don't realize they're old yet. And you know, you have boards that are for seniors, and you have parks and things for the youth, but this is something that bridges all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
I'm still going to be around, and if you want me to come out and hang out, or come and enjoy the cake,
You better come have some cake.
I'll tell my wife.
I would hope that you would do that.
So you know, I'm still a citizen in my heart. So I've lived most of my life here now.
You'll be back.
Well, and
not that
even
far
though
away.
you're moving somewhere else, they still have a Greenway. So if you see
Oh, yeah, I'll
something
be over
there
And
that we don't have, hey, how about letting us know?
when I spoke to Bruce, and I'll plant this seed, and it would be nice to see a regional Greenway initiative, and I'd love to be involved in that. Something that puts Smyrna, Laverne, I think there used to be in Murfreesboro on the same plane for a larger plan to connect these things up, so that you know, somebody could bike between here and Murfreesboro and not have
That'd
to
be
dodge
great.
cars.
Yes, that has been, I think that was on their 10-year plan 20
Yeah.
years ago or
Yeah, yeah,
30.
yeah.
So best laid plans.
And
We're still
I'll-
working towards that.
I'm going to come back by once I unpack things and start figuring out where I put it, but I did find the master plan from in the 90s, and it's interesting to see how much has been hit the mark, and how much the city has grown differently than was conceived even then. And, you know, you see the opportunities now that weren't there then. And so it's kind of an interesting trip down memory lane. I've had plenty of time in the last week to find pictures of somebody who had dark hair and that kind of thing. But so thanks for enduring me. But
Well, thank you for
We
your
will miss you.
service.
I've had fun.
And I normally have regretted that I haven't done this, but would you guys like to contribute anything to the conversation?
I think you'd be an excellent guest speaker at our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, you've been here since the beginning.
Yeah, I'm not short on words, but
You were there from the start, so you might as well see it through.
Right?
if the board wants it, I'll make
Yes.
myself available.
Absolutely.
I vote yes.
That would be awesome.
I'll put it down on my calendar, and you guys give me an official request, so, so make sure everybody's okay with it.
So, in closing, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work that you guys do, advertising the events, coordinating everything. You do a lot of the groundwork. We sit and talk about it, and you guys get it done, and it's fantastic. There are items that we talked about in the first meeting that I was chair that were thrown out as suggestions. Those have not hit the chopping block. They are. We're getting ready for those. We're looking for grants for some of them because we don't have any funds in this budget right now. So we are still actively pursuing those. We just haven't reached that point just yet. So I just didn't. If you didn't see your idea on this agenda today, it's not that it's been forgotten. Those are written down and submitted, and they're in progress. So I wanted to just say that. So. We will meet next July 15th, 2019, and the time may change. It may be at 6 instead of 7. We'll let you know for sure. And with all that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.